Guys, welcome. It's fantastic opportunity. Hey, thank you so much. It's the minute that we've been waiting for after a very long time with the COVID period and the measures and everything. We have been very privileged to have wonderful support from the wineries of northern Greece and to bring wonderful wines for you to taste. I know many of you have been telling me that you hadn't had the opportunity to taste Greek wine. And I'll tell you the reason for that. Greeks do not like to export their wine. So good, we would like to keep it for ourselves. So Greeks would like to drink their own wine. So if you are, it's a rare opportunity that you've got the opportunity to actually find some wine. There is Greek wine in Hong Kong, and you'll see it in a minute. What am I doing? I'm introducing Professor Hayen Song, who is my good colleague and friend, who is the expert. You've got another microphone there, who is the expert on wine management. And Hayen will be leading this session. Let me thank Alexandra Anthidou from the winemakers of Northern Greece. And let me welcome Mr. Lazarakis, who is the Master of Wine. He is the first Master of Wine in Greece. He's very well respected, not only in Greece, but everywhere, about his knowledge of wine. And over the last 7 or 8 months, we've been exchanging a lot of messages. I'm very, very glad to see a lot of the winemakers on the call. I can see Mr. Boutaris, I can see Mr. Gerovasiliou, I can see friends from Alpha Estate, and these are I can see Marina Stamos. These are fantastic winemakers who have actually sent us these wines so we can try them. You can find Greek wine in Hong Kong. They are in some places. I can help you finding them. So take pictures and then we'll go with that. So without any more delay, I'll leave the expert to lead the session. Professor Hayen Song, you are taking over.
Thank you, Demetrius. Thank you for your introduction. First of all, let me welcome everyone to this great event organized by Professor Demetrius Buhalis. When he joined us, he proposed to run a month-long Greek cuisine festival. So this masterclass is one of the event that I'm sure you are all very much interested. This actually planned to happen some time ago, but due to the COVID situation, we have to postpone today, but it was well to wait for. So let me first start with the masterclass by introducing Miss Alexandra Anthidou from Greece, who is representing the wine producers in Greek, to say a few words and also to introduce some of the winemakers who actually present through Zoom. Alexandra, please.
Yes, hello, Kalimera, good morning from Greece. Professor Song, Professor Buhalis, and our beloved Bridget, who is taking care of everything. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And on behalf of all the members of the Association Winemakers of North Greece, thank you very, very much for choosing today to taste and get to know some of our wines, which are derived from indigenous varieties. Our winemakers are among the top of our country, creators of excellent wines, visionaries and pioneers in the Greek wine industry. It is our great honor that today you will taste some of our wines, but the greatest honor is that this is an opportunity to get to know our country better, Greece. Today you will taste wines that come from the same places, the same soils, where once the philosopher Aristotle and the great commander Alexander the Great had conversations together, where once the god of joy and wine, Dionysos, were worshipped. Before the masterclass begin and before I pass the baton to the master of wine, Konstantinos Lazarakis, one of the most outstanding personalities around the world, around wine worldwide, I take the opportunity to suggest that when tasting our wines, you remember the Mediterranean sun, the aura and the breeze from the Aegean Sea, and the lakes on the plateaus of northern Greece. The unique and special terroir you will also taste in your glasses. Thank you again and enjoy this wonderful, wonderful wine masterclass.
Thank you. I believe there will be some representative from different wineries who want to say hello.
Yes, of course. We have Argyris Gerovasiliou from Ktima Gerovasiliou, Marina Stamou from Ktima Bibliachora, Konstantinos Karagiannidis from Kechris Winery, Giorgos Moustakis from Alpha Estate, Giorgos Diamandakos from Diamandakos Winery, Marina Boutari from Boutari Winery, and Yota Karanatsiou from Kiriani Winery.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your support of this masterclass.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. All right. Before we start the masterclass tasting, and let's welcome our dean, Professor Chong, to say a few words. Welcome you.
Oh, good afternoon. Our school is very pleased to present this very special masterclass, and we are very happy to work with our friends back in Greece who have offered this class to us. I want to thank Professor Buhalis, who is with us, and then certainly has the benefit of having him in our school. And I hope this will be a great learning experience and great tasting experience as well. Thank you very much for your participation. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Right. Okay, now we can formally start the masterclass. I would like to introduce you to Mr. Konstantinos Lazarakis. So I hope my pronunciation is right. He's a master of wine, specialized in Greek wine. So he will introduce the Greek wine production, wine region, and also the wines that we're going to taste today. Okay.
Excellent. From my side, thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining. I mean, it's a bittersweet moment because we technically should be having this in person. I would be coming to your wonderful part of the world and do that in person, see old friends, and do everything in person. But as it stands now, this is the way we have to do it, but this is absolutely fine. You will be tasting the wines, which is really the most important thing. I will make a very brief introduction about Greek vineyard, Greek wines, and Greek wineries in general. I could go on for hours, if not weeks, if not months. But I think that you are expecting to taste the wines. You can't wait to taste the wines. And this is more or less what I'm planning to do as well. This is myself. You don't need to see me anymore. And this is the lineup of the wines we're going to be tasting. This afternoon. As Alexandra said, we're talking about the top of the tree of the Greek vineyard, of the Greek wine production. These are highly esteemed producers in Greece, as well as a variety of other markets that we have been exporting, should I say, more consistently, meaning the Scandinavian countries, US, Canada, Germany, and UK. These are the major parts of the world where quality Greek producers have been systematically exporting for for quite a few decades. Right. Okay, so I'm doing this presentation on behalf of the winemakers of North Greece. I think we will be seeing a larger map. This is more or less the what we call the wine roads of Northern Greece. This association has been extremely important in developing not just some group sort of initiatives on behalf of these producers, but they developed also wine tourism, and they are making an absolutely fantastic job. And please consider me as a part of your family. Next time you think about coming to Greece, please drop me a line. You can get me on Instagram, you can get me on Facebook. Professor Buhalis will be gladly passing on my email. If you think about doing a bit of excursion to Greece, please consider that you have a family there, and I will be delighted, together with Alexandra and of course the winemakers of Northern Greece, to really get you into the grips of what the glories of Greek wine in general, and specifically to Northern Greek wines, are. So yes, this is quite a few, this is a selection of images of what Northern Greece is all about. We have, of course, Alexander the Great. I really love being in your part of the world, because we have some of the longest histories in the world, and I can sense that there is a very specific connection between the two people. We are a wonderful country, but also we have deep cultural foundations, but at the same time, it's just amazing to be in Greece. I mean, you can see the city of Thessaloniki at the bottom right corner, and Thessaloniki is one of the most amazing places you can spend a weekend or even a whole week, having great food, meeting great people, and also having great cultural events. And the vineyards are not far away at all. So let me take a closer look. So we are in Europe. I don't know if you can see my pointer. Do you see my pointer on the slide? Yeah, okay, so this is Europe. You're a bit further down here. And then we have the Mediterranean Sea, which is a closed archipelagos. And then this is the Balkan Peninsula, and this is a larger map. And a southernmost tip of the Balkan Peninsula is Greece. And in here we are having, well, essentially this is Macedonia, but when we're talking about winemakers in Northern Greece, then we are also taking into membership people coming from that part of Greece, which is Epirus, and that part which is Thrace. And we are covering the entire northern part of Greece. Although in this section, we are going to be focusing mainly on wines coming from Macedonia, northern Greece. It's easy to point out a few bits while we're looking at that map. We Greece is a very peculiar country, as an extremely peculiar country. Why? The first thing is it's surrounded by sea. Lots of islands. You cannot see all the islands on that map. A lot of islands, thousands of islands. And then no matter where you are in Greece, this is, well, the sea cannot be further away than like, driving a few hours. So there is very little part of Greece that doesn't enjoy some influence from the sea. At the same time, Greece is an extremely mountainous country. So we are having that very specific yet widely idiosyncratic effect of having a lot of vineyards at the same time at very high altitudes and yet very close to the sea, which is very different from like being close to a river or being close to a lake. Also, that creates a hell of complexity when related to climates and mesoclimates. So in Greece, we are enjoying very different kind of a climate that most people would believe just by looking at the map. Most people say, okay, it's South Europe, it's Mediterranean climate. Yeah, maybe it's not that interesting. Why? Because we are into an era where a lot of people are claiming that, you know, cool climate is what is all about. If you're not making wine in a cool climate area, if you're not really making quality wine, but we even have like cool climate symposia. But I think this is sad. This is extremely overgeneralizing, and it's down incorrect because you might have glorious wines produced at every single climate around the world, provided that Vitis vinifera can survive, of course. Also, I'll introduce you to a couple of my Lazarakian theory today. My first Lazarakian theory is the theory that goes towards climate. But people talk about cool climate. They say, yeah, you know, you have to go to cool climate to make fine wines. Great. But then what is cool climate? Or I would like to ask a question like, is, let's say, Côte Rôtie, Northern Rhone, is this cool climate or is this warm climate? Some people would say the one, some people would say the other. You're both correct. Why? Because Northern Rhone, Côte Rôtie, is extremely hot climate for Riesling and extremely cold climate for Grenache. So when you're talking about a climate as far as vine growing and winemaking is concerned, then you have to define that climate in terms of coolness or warmness down to linking that place to a specific grape variety. So I would say that if in a specific region people are growing a specific grape variety and they struggle to achieve proper ripeness in most vintages, by definition, this is a cool climate area for that specific grape variety. If you accept my definition of coolness of climate in a vineyard perspective, then I can say that most of Greece, let alone most northern Greece, is distinctively cool climate, because Greek people understand that this is where you get the most interesting wine. This is where you get the better quality on the edge, which leads us to another important thing that relates to grape varieties. Okay, a step back. How big do you think is Greece? It's big, not big, producing a lot of wine. I'm talking big or not big in terms of wine production. Some people might think that Greece is a big wine producing country. I can tell you that Greek wine, the annual production of Greek wine is less than half of what Bordeaux is producing in a normal vintage, less than half. So we're having France, and then we're having a small area in France called Bordeaux, not that small, but still it's an area within the general French sort of territory. And that specific region produces 2 times and then a bit of wine that Greece is producing. And if you take into account what Professor Buhalis said about we enjoying our wine, I mean, we consume about 90% of the wine we're producing. And the rest, the 10%, is exported. Also, we import very little wine. We enjoy drinking our own wine. So I would argue that having the wines you're about to have, or going out and having a bottle of Greek wine at home, is an exceedingly rare event. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bordeaux is great wine, but people are buying a bottle of Bordeaux and they think, oh, this is exclusive, this is something difficult to hard buy. No, no, even for the greatest chateaus. I mean, Chateau Lafite and Chateau Mouton are producing hundreds of thousands of bottles of wine. And you can see that Just everywhere you go, you will have restaurants. In every city in the world with a developed wine culture, you will have a bottle of Chateau Margaux or a bottle of Aubryon waiting in at least a few restaurants. Get that done with Greek wines. No, good luck with that. That's not the case, because Greek wine is rare. Greek wine is really exclusive. Also, now we're moving to the grape varieties. We have been a very old culture. We were not the first to develop a wine culture. Georgians and a lot of people in Mesopotamia have been developing that. But we have been fortunate to develop wine culture in a completely grander scale. We had the first winemakers, the more organized winemakers. We had wine writers, we had wine laws, we even had sommeliers. I mean, I see my dear friend Joao Pires, a master sommelier. I mean, we know that Greek sommeliers understood that different kylix, different clay pots, were making the wine taste different. We had to wait until the 1950s and 60s for Jörg Riedel to come up with the same idea, in this case with wine glasses. So extremely sophisticated right from the start. And when you're having that level of sophistication, you know that a lot of people are taking a closer look to the vineyard, and they have been selecting or creating a number of grape varieties. So one of the bastions of the glories of Greek wine is the pure number of autochthonous indigenous grape varieties. People are asking me, how many wine varieties do you have? The answer is, we don't know. We are still discovering extremely interesting things day in, day out. At this stage, we estimate that we are having about 300 grape varieties that can produce very good quality wine. And then, you know, the story still goes on. I mean, to give you an idea, Italy is producing about 55 times more wine than Greece. Okay, you got that right. 55 times more wine than Greece does is produced by Italy, and Italy has about 1,000 grape varieties. And Greece is producing that small amount, and we know that we have about 300 grape varieties and still going strong, still counting. In here, you can see some lovely photos just to persuade you, if you needed your arm twisted, to visit our wonderful part of the world. And still you can see what I was saying about that peculiarity of the Greek vineyards that can be quite high in altitude, yet extremely close to the sea. So another thing, that's I mean, that looks like New Zealand. Come on, this is pure Greece. Also, another thing in here, you can have a list of the wineries we're going to taste. Also, have a map on where these wines are coming from. I mean, we will go into a little bit more detail on that. What I can tell you also, and this will be my final introduction bit, and then we'll go straight tasting into wines, is that Greek territory, being at the same time very close to the sea and a very mountainous, or a very high average altitude, has very few fertile soils and very few fertile plains. So, because you know, wine is important, but to some degree, wine is something on the side, something that you're having to have a good time. It's not a necessity, is an add-on luxury. Throughout the centuries, having very little percentage of our Greek territory having fertility, having fertile soils, these soils have been dedicated to essential agriculture. We had to use these little pieces of land to have vegetables, to grow food, to have animal stock. So that had extremely important implications on where we grow the vines and what kind of wine we're making. So, for example, I will tell you that there is an old saying that we say, if you have a field, you can do whatever you like, try to grow something. If you cannot grow a thing, then get a vineyard or an olive grove. Why? Because these two different kinds of cultivation have one thing in common. They're having extremely limited nutrition needs and water needs as well. So if you have a piece of land that you can do nothing with a more essential form of cultivation, then you get a vineyard there. So little by little, out of this form of natural selection, we had Greek vineyards being pushed, being isolated to extremely high quality potential sites, because we know that low yields, relative stress to the vines, and the way vineyards behave on an infertile soil is a good prerequisite. Is not the only, of course, to produce good quality grapes and therefore good quality wines. Okay, again, the wines we're going to taste today, lovely. And let's start with the white wine flight. Right, Ktima Gerovasiliou. We had Mr. Gerovasiliou joining earlier on. I don't know if Argyris wants to join in the conversation. I mean, he's far more capable of
course.
doing.
Hello. Yeah. Probably give us another 2 minutes. We are still pour the first wine. So maybe 2 minutes.
Okay, maybe Argyris can do the very general introduction, and then I can talk through the wine.
Okay.
Of course I can. So hello to everybody. It's almost 11 o'clock now in Greece. So tasting some wine, I don't know if anybody can see me now and be jealous or thinking that I'm an alcoholic, but so yes, my name is Argyris Gerovasiliou. I belong to the second generation of our family-owned and family-run winery located in the northern part of Greece, as Konstantinos started to say, in Thessaloniki, in our small village called Epanomi, very close to the airport of Thessaloniki. So again, if you ever willing to visit Greece or northern part of Greece, Ktima Gerovasiliou is a very easy option to visit, very close to the city of Thessaloniki. As I said, I'm the second generation, so it's Ktima Gerovasiliou is the brainchild of my father, Evangelos Gerovasiliou. He started at 1982 by reviving his family vineyard of 2 hectares. These days, we own around 100 hectares of private-owned vineyard. And the biggest part of this vineyard is the variety that we're going to taste together tonight, Malagusia. To be honest, I feel very proud when I'm talking about this variety because my family, and mostly, of course, my father, played a huge role to revive this variety because it was a forgotten Greek variety. And my father was capable and lucky enough to find this variety while he was working for another winery, Porto Caras, in Chalkidiki. He saw the potential of this variety and planted it mostly in our domain, in Ktima Gerovasiliou. And that's why he considered as the father of this variety, the father of Malagusia. I don't know, Konstantinos, if you want to add something.
Are we ready with serving the first wine?
Ah, perfect.
Yeah, we can start.
The thing
now.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Well, Argyris, thank you very much. So we are tasting a wine from the 2021 vintage, and the grape variety is called Malagusia. Quite a mouthful. but just forget about the difficulty of pronouncing the wine, just focus on the glorious taste. In my mind, this story is the essence of the excitement that stands out of Greek wine. The first, Argyris touched very briefly on that, but then allow me to go a bit wilder on that. So Malagusia was a lost grape variety. A lot of people were thinking that, yeah, there is a grape variety that is called Malagusia. And actually, a number of people were thinking that, oh, yeah, it was about sweet wines. Very few, if any, people, and we're talking about local people, peasants, making their own barrels of wine, are making any Malagusia. So Professor Logothetis, a professor on the University of Agriculture in northern Greece, went on a sabbatical and tried to find some cuttings of Malagusia, and then went to Porto Karas, Ktima Karas. I'll show you the map. Okay, we are, so this is where Gerovasiliou estate is. I hope you can see my pointer, and then Ktima Karas is in this part. So in the 80s, Mr. Gerovasiliou was the head winemaker of Ktima Karas. So he worked very closely with Professor Logothetis, and he spotted the Malagusia potential. The first wine ever produced by Malagusia was back in 1993. We're talking about the first like commercially vintage of a good quality producer from Malagusia. I was extremely happy to be in the presentation of this very vintage back in '94, and I remember vividly, like it's like happening now, disbelief of the people around in the room. They were saying, come on, this is bloody amazing. What is happening with this wine? So,
can I interrupt you for 1 second, please?
Yes.
I tried it on the other room, but I'd like these guys here to actually try it as well. Can you say Malagusia? Okay, let's try 1, 2, 3. Malagusia. 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 Perfect. We're doing very well.
Excellent. Linguistics, fantastic. Excellent. So for me, this is the glory, as I said, of the Greek vineyard. Back in 1993, I mean, in the cultural terms, in wine terms, 93 to 2022 is nothing. It's like a blink of an eye. So now, and this goes down Mr. Gerovasiliou's efforts, Malagusia is an extremely important variety. We have more, I think, than 150 producers working with Malagusia, and they are crafting some amazing, some really amazing wines with this. Malagusia is slightly aromatic, not extremely aromatic. In some cases, people consider that Malagusia might be a bit like muscatty. It really depends. If you go very high in ripeness, you can have a slightly muscatty feel, and you are tasting a Malagusia that is a bit different from most Malagusia. Why is the case? Because this is a wine that has been partly aged in French oak. We're talking about sort of older oak, not very important new oak flavors in the wine. We are talking, there are two main styles of Malagusia. One can be called high ripeness, which is more or less what you're tasting. And some people are harvesting slightly earlier. That gives that wine a more intense minty aroma and taste.
So, Konstantinos, we're just about to start serving the second wine, right?
Okay.
Should we start serving the second wine?
Hello? Hello? Okay, I saved that. So I'm sorry, I have a problem with my camera, and I can't. You can see me. So we will try. Give me 1 second, please. I'm sorry, I was trying to connect through my cell phone. That's why that happens. Anyway, I greet you from Thessaloniki. We are in Kikris Winery. We have a specialty in producing a special Greek wine, Regina. It's the second wine you will taste.
Hold on. Just wait for a second.
Yes.
Let Konstantinos. We are going to serve Ovilos.
Κωνσταντίνος Καραγιαννίδης.
Ναι.
Ο Mr.
Κωνσταντίνε, σε λιγάκι σε παρακαλώ, θα σε κάλεσε στο τηλέφωνο. Αν μπορείς κλείσε το μικρόφωνο σου και κάλεσε μου στο τηλέφωνο. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Okay, Konstantinos Lazarakis, we are serving Ovilos. The second,
Yes.
Right?
So, do we have anyone from Biblia Hora?
Yes.
Marina Stamos. Yes.
I'm Marina.
Stamos.
Yes. Hello. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm Marina Stamos. I'm the expert manager from Ktima Biblia Hora. I will let you know a little bit about the name of Biblia Hora. When the Phoenicians came here to the Pangaean region, they were searching of metals. So they helped us spreading the vine, and they brought a vine that was called Byblos, that is also a city in Phoenicia. So the Greeks made the word Byblos Inos. Inos in ancient Greek means wine. So they say it's the wine from this variety. So it was known, the area of Pangaeon, where the winery is situated, it was known throughout all the ancient Greece as Biblia Hora. Hora means like the region or the land. So here where the winery is situated is the land of this old variety that the Phoenicians brought. We are situated in Pangaeon. This is in northern of Greece, near Kavala. So what we especially here have is the both Mediterranean and continental climates. We have here in the winery some sea breezes, because in front of the winery is the sea, the Aegean Sea. And on the back we can see we have some breezes of the mountain of Pangaeon. So now I think you will taste the Ovilos, right? This is a blend of Semillon, the international variety, and a Greek variety called Assyrtiko. I think Mr. Karakazis knows more about the variety Assyrtiko, so maybe he wants to introduce you more and let you know. Mr. Lazarakis wants to introduce you and let you know a little bit more about Assyrtiko.
Excellent. Okay, so we are having a wine that comes from Biblia Hora. I'll show you in the map where this wine comes from. I'm sorry, we have to go back. So this is the westernmost wine we're going to taste, but still, as you can see, it's at the same time at a relatively high altitude and very close to sea. So, this becomes a theme, as you might know, as you might have noticed, and this is a very interesting blend between two great grape varieties, which is Assyrtiko and Semillon. Assyrtiko is the grape variety of Santorini, an island in Aegean Sea, and is Assyrtiko now, I think, is the most famous Greek grape variety. We have even people in California, people in South Africa, let alone Australia, Jim Barry, doing Assyrtiko. So as you can imagine, if other people around the world have been cultivating Assyrtiko, then for sure Greek people are extremely happy to work with Assyrtiko. What's the idea? What's the main style of Assyrtiko? It's all about minerality. Assitico is not an aromatic grape variety. It's very mineral, very slightly introvert on the nose, but on the palate it has great acidity that maintains freshness and really intensive, a really crisp structure, even at relatively high levels of alcohol. So this is Assitico, also is a grape variety that can age for many years. The best Assiticos can easily age for more than 10 years, and pure Assiticos get very Chablis-like, especially with a bit of age. So we are having also, in here we have a fantastic blend with Assitico and Semillon. That is a masterful move. Actually, I have to tell you that Vivlia Hora is a joint venture. So half of the business is owned by Yerovasiliou family, which is the first wine we had, and the other half is owned by Tsaktsalis family. Vasilis Tsaktsalis is again one of the geniuses in the world of winemaking in Greece. He studied in Bordeaux under Denis Baudier, came back to Greece, and then after a while he started Vivlia Hora with Yerovasiliou. Tasting this wine, possibly you can see that this wine has been aged for a few months in older oak barriques. Also, quite a bit of lees contact on that. And we are having a wine that is, I don't know if you can spot it, but in my mind, when I taste Ovilos, right from the very first vintage, it smells slightly like Sauvignon Blanc, so more like Sauvignon Blanc rather than Semillon. This can be explained because apparently there are two kinds of different Semillon clones. One Semillon family of clones is closer to Chardonnay, so broader, fuller, not as aromatic, while the other part of the family, of the other family clone, is more aromatic, more Sauvignon Blanc. And yes, you can spot it in here. The Semillon used for Ovilos is a wine. It is coming from the Sauvignon Blanc kind of clones of the family. Also, I have a great story to say about this wine. We have been tasting this wine a few years back with Serena Sutcliffe and David Peppercorn. David Peppercorn, both masters of wine. David is a legend in Bordeaux. He wrote the book before everyone else for Bordeaux. Serena has been in charge of the Sotheby's auction department internationally. So they know their wines. They have been tasting a lot of wines, and they had Ovilos, and I can see them like tasting the wine again and again and whispering to each other. And then Serena came to me and said, La Ville Aubryon, eat your heart out. This is one of the most amazing Bordeaux Blanc Pessac-Léognan Grand Cru Classé wines produced outside of Pessac-Léognan. And I think you can taste that. Also, this is a wine that can age easily, again, for 10 years. And for me, this is another glory of Greek wines. It's amazingly easy to get great value wines and to have a wine that can age for a decade and that will not break the bank. There are a lot of great wines out there that can be aged, that are great, but usually these wines are going bonkers, are going completely crazy in prices. I am in the trade and I'm dealing with a lot of top quality producers around the world, and believe me, prices are going crazy. Within Greece, this is not the case. Greece is the source of some impeccable wines at extremely competitive price. So if you are to some degree in the trade, though you cannot really afford missing on Greek wines.
Thank you, Konstantinos.
Yeah, this is a excellent wine, and it is actually a very strange blend between two varietals. You mentioned that this wine will age for a long time. So in your estimate, how long this wine can age for, and what sort of flavor it will evolve over time?
Okay, what you're having, well, I think that for me, at this stage, you are having a lovely wine to enjoy now. You get that slightly grassiness together with the minerality of Assyrtiko, and then you have that interplay between lees and oak. As the wine evolves, initially, you're getting a lot more complexity and integration on the nose, and also on the palate. The palate is getting softer and rounder without losing vivacity. So in 10 years' time, this will be an absolute joy. Trust me, but get a bottle, get 6 bottles, get some more bottles.
Should we go to the third wine?
Yes, let's move on to Kefris, and we have Konstantinos Karayanidis, I think, with us. Konstantinos, would you like to say a few words about the winery or about the wine?
So it's Retsina, the third one. And a lot of people will not be familiar with Retsina. Konstantinos Lazarakis, can you please introduce Retsina? Because I've seen some people drinking a little bit and they find a little bit strange in a while.
Okay, this is going to be the wildest discovery you're going to have today, and possibly the wildest discovery you're going to have for quite a while. So Retsina is a traditional wine of Greece, and this is created by adding a small amount of pine resin. So you go to the pine tree and you cut the bark and you select some pine resin, and as the wine gets fermented, you drop a small piece of that resin. So this is flavoring, and that's why we call Retsina within the large group, not that large, but within the group of aromatized flavored wines. We had a lot of bad Retsina being produced in the past, and this was an excellent excuse for bad wine making. Make bad wine and then throw a lot of resin in so you can just taste the resin. But I think that Retsina can be an absolutely outstanding wine. And now, especially in the States, we are seeing a resurrection of aromatized wine. I mean, I had a quarrel with Mark Squires from Robert Parker's Wine Advocate. And he was saying, like, you know, Retsina is not wine, I'm not rating Retsinas, I'm not touching Retsinas, blah, blah, blah. And I was saying, look, if you enjoy wine aged in oak, then you are tasting some form of Retsina. Oak wood has resins, and these resins are dissolved in the wine. So it's just a different way of getting these resins diluted into wine, and a slightly different balance between the wine and the resin. If you enjoy wine made in oak, I think all of us do, then to some degree, you are tasting an aromatized wine. But Konstantinos, please.
Hello from me. I apologize for before I messed up with the technology. Greetings from Thessaloniki again. Thank you for the introduction. Retsina is indeed a very special product. He has never tasted Retsina before. You're in for a surprise, I think. It's a bit of an acquired taste. Our winery produces 4 different types of Retsina. One of them you will taste right now. It's the Deer of the Pine. It's the barrel-aged, the 100% Assyrtiko from the region of Oumenissa. We consider this wine to be of very high quality and of depth and complexity, I would say. If you would like something to ask about the production or the way we vinify or anything like that, I'm glad to answer questions. We also have, just to be more precise, we also have our more basic Retsina, and we also have a rosé Retsina made of Xenomabro, and also a semi-sparkling one made from Rhodidis, just to be more holistic in my description. Indeed, it is made with the addition of the pine resin. It's a substance that stays afloat, and we just remove it when we think we have taken what we want to extract from this. It's not very different from barrel aging, as Mr. Lazarakis already mentioned. I'm meaning that it's not an addition somehow. It is a practice, you know, a traditional practice.
So guys, they get the Retsini out of the tree and they add it. This is very unique to Greece.
We cannot hear you.
Okay, I was showing a picture of a pine tree and the Retsini coming out, because a lot of people were finding difficult to conceptualize what it is. So the Retsini that is coming out, and that's very unique to Greece.
Actually, there's a similarity to some of the Chinese herbal medicine. So if you drink, if you taste Chinese herbal medicine, and you will get the smile and also the taste is similar to this one. So I think this go very well with Chinese people like this if they use Chinese medicine before. Yeah, it's very complex in my view. Actually, the palate and the lens and also the complexity is there.
You have to think a bit differently in the way you view Retsina. In Greece, we are not eating like the French, like starter, second course, main course, dessert. What we do is pretty much what people do in China, which is all of the different things at the same time, you know, in the middle of the table. So I've been to Chinese fantastic restaurants where the third dish would be a sweet dish, and then the final dish would be a soup. It's like, you know, everything the moment it comes out of the kitchen. So in cultures like this, the food and wine matching that most of the wine people think is not applicable. It's all about what you need is like having a bite of this and then having a drink to clean your palate and then get ready for the next bite that might come from something completely different in terms of taste. That's why you are doing tea with food. That's why a lot of people in sort of northern countries are using vodka. This is the way Japanese people are doing sake. This is why Spanish people that are eating more or less the same style, they do fino sherry. I think conceptually, fino sherry and Retsina are twins separated at birth. Technically, the way they function in the experience, it's pretty much when fino sherry is flavored by yeasts, and then Retsina is flavored by pine resin. But you have to keep in mind this, that Buhalis winery, sorry, yes?
Yeah, some of our participants asking what food this wine will pair well with, especially if you know Chinese food, what this wine will pair well with the Chinese food?
That's the whole idea. It goes with everything. Why? It's not about like this food matching with this wine. No matter what the food, Retsina will clean your palate, fresh your palate, and prepare your mouth for the next bite. You can have that with seafood. You can have that with spicy food. with beef, with everything. Try that. You have to try that. But then what Kechri's family did was phenomenal. They got Assyrtiko, 100% Assyrtiko from a fantastic vineyard. And then they vinified in the way top white Burgundies are vinified. So top quality oak, lees contact, very careful handling of the fruit, like top quality. And then it was like Assyrtiko made like Grand Cru Burgundy, apart from using a bit of resin during the fermentation. Even down to the fermentation. I mean, we had a tasting where we tasted the same wine using different pine trees. So one pine tree coming from low altitudes, one pine tree from higher altitudes, one pine tree getting the resin when the moon was full, or another resin when the moon was waning, the same tree. And the difference was beyond belief. So this is an extremely complex wine. This is a great wine that happens to be Retsina, easily the best Retsina in the world. And believe me, this wine can also age. I was very happy 3 years ago to go through a complete vertical of a tier of the pine that I think goes back to 2005. Every single wine was young. And after a few years, these wines were consuming the resin and they were looking more and more like barrel fermented Assyrtiko. Right, excellent. So
just one minute, Konstantinos. Can you stand up and face the camera so Konstantinos can see you? Just like a good student, can you come to the front, please? Stand up.
Okay, could I ask a question?
No, come closer to me. Come closer to me. Turn around. See the camera, the white camera there? Oh, and now you're speaking to Konstantinos. Yes, perfect.
Okay, could I ask a question whether we could make Retsina with another grape variety or just Assyrtiko?
Traditionally, there were two other grape varieties, Sabatiano and then Roditis, used for Retsina. But just by selecting Assyrtiko for making a Retsina is a big, bold statement from Kechris, and they do a wonderful job.
Thank you for your kind words. Could I add another information?
Yes, please.
So regarding the question, our main Retsina, Kechribari, and also a Cross, which I mentioned earlier, are 100% Roditis, okay, which is a traditional grape for this purpose, like Mr. Lazarakis said. And we also, like I also said, we also have a Retsina from Sinobro, so there is no restriction varietally-wise for the production of Retsina. Okay, Assyrtiko was a choice for this particular label, for its character and its ability to age and the high acidity and the other characteristics of this variety you probably have heard before. And also thank you, Mr. Lazarakis, for your kind words and the presentation of the tier of the pine.
Thank you. Come on, I love the wine. I love Kechris family. Pass on my best regards. Okay, so now we're moving to Xinomavro. Xinomavro, which is the name of the grape variety, the major grape variety of northern Greece. Xinomavro, yeah, maybe we can do a bit of an attempt for the crowds to pronounce that. It's not, a lot of non-Greek people call that Xinomavro, but it is Xinomavro, KS, imagine KS, Xinomavro. There is also International Xinomavro Day, the 1st of November, so make sure that you have enough Xinomavro for the coming festivity. It's a bit further away down the calendar, but you shouldn't be left unprepared. I think you already started serving the first red of the flight.
Yes,
if not,
first red.
Okay, is it already being served?
Yes, we already been served.
Okay, fantastic. So we are having, we have a fantastic piece of information. The Chinese name for Xinomavro is Hei Si Lo. Okay, excellent, fantastic. Thank you very much, Konstantinos. So Xinomavro, what's the story of Xinomavro? It's a very distinctive grape variety. It doesn't have, in most cases, it doesn't have a lot of color. So it's pretty pale, think Pinot Noir, think Nebbiolo, in Barolo and Barbaresco. But also that analogy goes into the smell and the taste of the wine. For example, Xinomavro usually is not very fruity. It is aromatic, but it's more herbal, more slightly vegetal, but at the same time, it has amazing complexity. And when you go on the palate, Xinomavro has very crisp acidity, and the tannins are firm. They're not unripe, but they can be quite structured in the way they show themselves on the palate. We are starting with a wine from Alpha Estate. I mean, just look, the building is beautiful, but just look the terroir around it. And of course, Konstantinos Lazarakis from Alpha Estate, please, would you like to join us for a few words? Konstantinos?
Good afternoon, good morning to everybody. Well, actually, Konstantinos from Alpha Estate, George Moustakis will do the introduction. So I will pass the microphone to him.
Good morning, all of you. Good evening. I'm Moustakis George. Pleased to meet you. I'm from the hospitality department. I welcome you to an introduction of Alpha Estate. Some details about our estate. Alpha Estate is placed in Armenian appellation. The appellation is specified for the variety composition Xinomavro 100%. We are around 640 meters above the sea level. The Armenian Plateau is neighboring with two tremendous lakes, Lake Petres and Lake Vegoritida, and three big land volumes, 3 mountains as well. The vineyard is, the Alpha Estate has got around 220 hectares in our possession. Today we will talk about for the Xinomavro Hedgehog label. Hedgehog is we named Hedgehog the vineyard because a lot of hedgehogs live thereby, and the vineyard designated for the specific label, the Xinomavro Hedgehog. We're talking about 17.9 hectares land. Some details about the subsoil and soil. The subsoil consists of limestone. The soil consists of sand, clay, and some gravel. About the climate of the Armenian Plateau, the microclimate is between cold and mild. The continentality, we can describe it as semi-continental. We have important precipitations like rain phenomena or snowfalls during the winter. We got dry summers with cool nights. Last details about the harvest of the grape of the variety. We do a manual harvest, and the Xinomavro variety is a late collective grape variety. So that's all about our small introduction. Thank you, Mr. Lazarakis, for your presence.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I have to thank you. Excellent. Let's go back. I'm sorry for switching slides so fast, but let's go in here where everything is located. So in here, we are tasting a wine from Minto appellation. We are talking about a protected designation of origin, Minto. This is here. You can see a town called Florina, a city called Florina, and here Minto is towards this place. So maybe you can understand that this is one of the few regions of Greece that the influence of the sea is not felt, and we are talking about a place with a high continentality index. This is a place where year in, year out, we can have a snow cover. So in most, if not in all recent years, we had snow covering the area at least for a few days. I don't think there is any other viticultural area in Greece that can claim the same thing. And a few words about Alpha Estate. We had a beautiful introduction. Alpha Estate is the largest vineyard owner of Greece. And the most amazing thing is that they are at the same time the largest vineyard owner, and they are working every single vine with a level of understanding and an attention to detail that is almost unmatched by other people working with high amounts of vines. They are analyzing every single thing. They are taking an extremely close look to everything. Angelo Iatridis, who is the mastermind of winemaking, Akis Mavridis, are very scientifically inclined people. They leave nothing to chance, and the result is beautiful wine. So it's quite excellent estate by all standards. Also, I think you can see the style of Xinomavro in this wine, relatively pale in color. The color gets a bit on the brown side pretty fast. And on the nose, well, Alpha Estate is considered to be some of the more modern in terms of style wine estates. And you can see that, especially on the nose of this wine, slightly more fruit than what you would expect from Xinomavro, and on the palate they take a lot of care into making the tannins get silkier, slightly softer.
We had some time ago, and we had the Alpha Estate presenting, and this is on YouTube. So people who would like to find out about Alpha Estate and about Xinomavro, they can see the video on YouTube. I think, Konstantinos, we're ready to go to the number 5 with Mr. Diamandakos.
Fantastic. And I can see Mr. Diamandakos close to Alexandra.
Lovely to see you, George, again. How are you? You need to unmute yourself.
Yes, exactly. I'm here with Alexandra, currently at Thessaloniki, but I'm very happy to see you. Professor Mr. Buhalis, dear President of the Polytechnic University. Again, we are very happy to be with you among the dear students this time and host this great Greek wine tasting of wines of Greece. As I told them in my presentation before 1 month ago, I've never been to Hong Kong, but as I did my little research, I'm sure I think that our wines, the wines of North Greece, are can have a great matchup with your local gastronomy or cuisine, with your with our rich and aromatic whites, and the reds are fruity and light reds with the zest and acidity. So, and we are grateful and happy to give us the opportunity to share with you our passion and knowledge, of course, for our regional wines. Nevertheless, with the guidance of Mr. Lazarakis this time, I'm sure they're going to expand further and further on Greek wines. And probably have the opportunity to visit you sometimes and meet you in person.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So Mr. Diamadakos is showing Nausa 2018. Let me go to the map and show you where Nausa is. And actually Nausa is going to be the place the rest of the wines are going to be coming. So we had Xinomavro from Aminteo, PDO Aminteo, coming from that part. And we are moving to Nausa. So Imathia is the name of the general prefecture, as we say. And this is PDO, Protected Designation of Origin, Nausa. And this is where the rest of the wines we're going to taste going to be present. And Mr. Diamadakos, for me, is one of the jewels of the Greek wine industry. Again, well, not again. On one side, he is technically trained. He's a very well-respected winemaker. Actually, he's giving a lot of advice to other people in the area. He has been instrumental in helping other people, smaller producers or larger producers, to make even better wines. By itself, this is amazing. And at the same time, Diamadakos estate is an artisan estate. And I think we deserve to, we are bound to see more and more people like Diamadakos emerging from Greece in the next few years. So Diamadakos is that style of producer that everything is really handmade, everything is relatively small in scale, taking a lot of care into crafting, a small number of labels, top quality, and I think you can taste the wines. Nausa, as an appellation, is slightly warmer than Aminteo, although they can look pretty close to each other on the map. Then we're having a big mountain between the two, and then we're having a lot more sea influence reaching Nausa, but not in Aminteo. And Aminteo is not being sheltered by cold northern winds, as is the case with Nausa. We have a question from João Pires about the PDOs of Xinomavro. There are 4 PDOs in Greece, and I can write these down on the chat. There is Aminteo, which is 100%, has to be 100% Xinomavro, but then you can produce red wines, rosé wines, and rosé sparkling wines. Then you're having Nausa, which is again 100% Xinomavro, and it's only for red wines. You cannot make rosé wines, or let alone include Xinomavro, other grape varieties than Xinomavro. And then further towards the east, you are having Rumenisa, where you are having another grape variety called Negoska added to Xinomavro. And also towards the south, right on the foothills of Mount Olympus, you have Rapsani, where apart from Xinomavro, you have Krassato and Stavroto.
Konstantinos, we have a question here for Mr. Diamandakos from my colleague Emily.
Yes.
Hello, Emily.
Hello, Mr. Diamandakos. Is that correct? I learned this. So
do you enjoy the tasting so far?
Yeah, a few of us really like the taste of wine. So I had a quick discussion with Professor Buhalis. We were wondering why the tasting the wines from 2018? Was the particular year group was good, or do you recommend this wine from 2018? Or if there's difference from another year, because we did enjoy this one very much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the fact that every vintage, every harvest is unique. You may find similarities, of course, because the grape is the same, the land the same, but every yield, and this is the magical part of what we are doing, is different. So my philosophy is to explore it, and of course to have in the bottle as a final result, as a footprint about the yield and of course the variety at its fullest. So there is no significant answer about your question if I propose this harvest or another. Probably next year we're going to try the 19 vintage, which is totally different. The 2018 was quite tricky, very hard one to work with, especially into the vineyard. It's quite aromatic. You can find this complexity, but I'm not sure if the wine will lay gracefully. On the other hand, the 19 or the 17, if you had the ability, if you had the chance to taste it, will go further along. Probably you will not enjoy the wine after 3-4 years age, but in the decade, the wine will be great. And those are the things, and that's why you have to taste and explore, even if you know the producer and the quality of his. It's good for you always to taste every single vineyard from the same producer.
Right. Guys, Mr. Diamandakos, who is actually the surname of George, which is George in a bottle, basically. He was with us on the webinar, so you can see his winery, and he was kind enough to show us. He was doing it from his mobile phone. He showed us his winery on the webinar. Again, have a look for the video on the YouTube. I'm just going
for you to understand a little bit the region. It's more different. For Mr. Lazarakis explained you very well for what we want to show you, but if you visit the area, it's totally different.
Yeah, I also noticed the three red wines served so far. The 2019 is very bright, vibrant. The color is very fresh, where 2018 and 2016, actually, you can see the wine's already very advanced. There's a brownish color in the wine. Is that the wine made in this way, or it is actually because of the time?
Because of the time, yes, because they are 3 years old earlier now, and the significant find is the vintage. It's about the year, and now you're going to have the chance to taste 3 wines from Nausa. They are following another 2 wines. So Nausa, this is the diversity. You get a scattered diverse terroir. You may find a lot of diverse tasting wines in the region, and this is great. So the answer is yes. It's about the yield, the year, and of course we improve ourselves, and we're searching in every vintage. We gain knowledge, and this is coming to the bottle.
Yeah, it seems evolve very quickly. So if we talk about other type of wines, it will take 10 years or 20 years to change color. Somehow this particular wine change color very quickly.
Yes.
If I can jump into the conversation, one thing is that in Aminteo, you're having grapes growing in a slightly cooler environment, and to some degree that affects the anthocyanin, so they're showing in a different way. Also, Alpha Estate, as I said, is a quite modern style of making wine, and they are taking a very close look on how they can go around the browning of color. But having said that, browning of color is an important part of what Xinomavro is, which is essentially the case with Nebbiolo and Barolo. You're tasting a 4-year-old Barolo, and it looks like a 30-year-old Cabernet. But for these wines, the color development, the browning is completely irrelevant with the quality and the aging potential, as well as the taste of this wine. So I think we have been for far too long under lock and key via what I call the Cabernet dictatorship. If it's not black, then it's not a good wine. If it's not huge in terms of body, it's not a good wine. I'm very happy to say that this is fading away in a variety of places around the world. We have more and more people saying, okay, we don't care about color. We care about taste, about complexity. We don't want to have a sort of huge palettes, high alcohols, full bodied. We want to have structure, still balance, and again, complexity of flavor and texture.
Yeah, absolutely. The
Thinking about my wine, my region, Madeni, where the wines are situated, just to give a little bit of a tip, I have in my area where the vines are situated, the soil is, the top soil is gravelly and sandy clay, and has a lot of high amounts of calcium and potassium and magnesium. That is, from one hand, it helps us mature very well to give us smooth velvet tannins on our wines and great aromatic complexity. On the other hand, a little bit reacts with the acidity and increases the pH level. So it's that's why you can see this evolution, the high evolution of the anthocyanin. So we try always to balance.
Also, I have to admit that, again, well, I buy all wines that we present here for my own cellar. That's why I'm not tasting these wines. It's early in the morning, and at the same time, I know these wines, the taste of them like the back of my hand. All the reds, and this is the case with Yorgos wines, is that this is a wine to age. Yes, if you want to taste black wines, because nowadays a lot of people are not keen on drinking red wines, they want to drink black wines, this is not the wine for you. But if you're interested in complexity, in character, get a bottle of this wine, and then in 10-15 years you will be tasting an exquisite example of what Greece can produce.
Exactly. And the alcohol level, as you can see, additionally, is around 13.5. You know that the alcohol preserves all the body, but in those kind of alcohol levels, we have this evolution about the wine. Complex, not too body, not too full body, not too oaky, but we want the fruit to come out. We want the land to speak there.
Yeah, this is a beautiful wine, and very pleased to know you buy these wines for yourself. So I think many of us here are interested in purchasing great wines. So these are certainly the recommended wines that you should buy, right? But hope we can purchase this from Hong Kong.
Hopefully. Right. Okay. So we move on to the next wine.
Yes, number 6.
Number 6, Buhalis. I think we have Marina with us. Or someone else from Buhalis winery. Is it true or not?
Yes, it's true. It's true. It's Marina. I had the mute, so you couldn't hear me. Good morning or good afternoon. I don't know what's the time for Hong Kong right now. I haven't really checked the time difference. It's morning for us. I'm Marina Buhari. I'm the 5th generation in Buhari winemaking family and business. Buhari Wineries was established in 1879 by my great-grandfather, Yanis Buharis, in Nausa. And Nausa Buhari was the first red wine that was ever produced in Greece, and the first red wine bottled in Greece. And that was way back in 1904. So more than a century ago. Our winery ages now 144 years. We are one of the oldest in Greece and very proud of it. And the most important thing is not just the age, is the fact that we still have members of the family working. in the company. My father, who is the CEO, Konstantin Butari, myself, who is in charge of the commercial department, and my sister Lenya, who is in charge of marketing. That's very important because there are very few companies in Greece and very few, not just wineries, that have that big of a history with the same family working in the business. Fifth generation, if one ever looks into it, there are very few cases worldwide. So that's a few things about us and the history of Nausa. Apart from Nausa Winery, we have another 5 wineries, just for your information, around Greece. Since our strategy was to make wines in top appellations of Greece throughout. So throughout our history, we built a winery in Houmenissa, which is very close to Nausa, a little bit northern. One close to one in Athens. We have a cooperation in Athens with and a small winery there with Matza, Roxani Matza. Then we have a winery in Santorini, the famous Santorini, famous for not only for its wines, but also for its sunsets. If you haven't been, I highly recommend it. Then we have one in Mandinia, where Moscofilero, another variety, is a very famous white variety is produced, and a final one in Crete. Sorry about the small introduction in other areas, but I think it's important and it's a part of our DNA. So it's good to know that we are not only in Nausa. Nausa is our biggest. Nausa is where our heart start beating, and that's where we feel more proud of. And the wine that you have just that you have tasted, Butari Legacy, that you're about to taste, Butari Legacy, is the top of our range. We have 3 wines coming from Nausa. One, the regular Nausa, Grand Reserve, which is an aged wine, and Butari Legacy, 1879, which is a single vineyard. I'm gonna give the floor to Konstantinos so he can present, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Marina. A question back on the chat: are all vines in Butari in Kulura? No, only the Santorini vines are in the basket-shaped Kulura training style. Allow me to say that the Greek wine would have been very different should Butari family never existed or never gotten itself into wine. Butari family has been extremely influential in developing the Greek wine industry the way it is present as we speak. As Marina said, 5 generations, the first people bottling wine, the first people focusing on making top quality wine, but it's getting even trickier because they started doing wineries around Greece in very different places around Greece. And it's not oftenly said, but these wineries were the seeds to make these existing appellations developing into far more complex, far more, should we say, democratic appellations. So, I mean, for example, in Santorini, we had the cooperative, and then they were producing, they were the only important producers on the island. And then Butari family started a winery there, and that was used as a starting point for a vast number of producers that are now making wine in Santorini. So Butari's family was important, not just producing top quality wines, but at the same time allowing a lot of people getting access to equipment, getting access to know-how. I mean, there is a saying that we say, not just in wine makers, but also in wine executives, very few people in Greece are now important that haven't been at some stage in the past working for the Boutaris family. So we are extremely thankful for that. But also having that great experience allows you to spot great terroirs, to spot great vineyards, and this is exactly what is happening. So the Boutaris team has been working in Nausa for, well, centuries, and then they spotted a sort of isolated vineyard that was producing year in, year out, great fruit, great quality grapes, and then they decided to start a single vineyard bottling from that vineyard. And, you know, if a family like Boutaris thinks about getting the name of this wine, Legacy 1879, the founding year of the company, then please rest assured that it's nothing less than phenomenal vineyard in there. And I think you can taste the wine. I think you can relate to yourself to what a top quality Xinomavro is all about. Also, this is a slightly more traditional style of Xinomavro, while the previous two, someone could say that they might be a slightly more modern twist. Nothing wrong with either approach. We need them both. But I'll tell you this, forget about this bottling. Forget about the Legacy 1879. Boutaris is producing the basic Nausa that Marina said. This is, I don't know how to translate that, please help me if you feel like it, but this is a wine that is retailing in Greece more or less around 10 euros. So it's a wine at a price that you can almost drink day in, day out. And in the Boutaris family cellars, you can go back to the late 60s, late 60s or early 70s, and have bottles of the 68, 69, 71, 73. And these bottles are still fresh. They are beyond enjoyable. They're great wines, no matter what your standards are. I mean, we have been quite fortunate because Boutari family regularly, well, once every decade or so, is doing long vertical tastings, and we had the chance to taste these wines. And again, I'm not talking about the 1879 bottling, I'm talking about the basic bottling, which is one of the highest in production. So that speaks volumes about the quality, the infatuation with quality of Boutaris family, but also speaks volumes about the quality of Xinomavro as a grape variety, and of course what wine, what Greek wine can be. So yeah, again, another one to buy. I mean, I cannot think I'll be dead by then, but this wine in 30 years time, well, hopefully I will not be dead in 30 years time. So yeah, I'll keep some bottles of the 2016 in 30 years time, and I'll invite Marina around and enjoy a couple of bottles. I hope she's bringing a beauty bottle herself, and I'm quite confident.
I accept the invitation.
Fantastic.
Invitation accepted.
Excellent. Meaning that, you know, if the lower price bottling can survive 50 years, thinking about this is sending chills up my spine. Still, if you compare this bottling, the price of this wine, with other wines coming from more famous places in the world, you'll be amazed. And I have a great story to say. Lovely. Okay.
Thank you, Konstantinos.
Thank you.
Move on to the last wine of that.
Yeah. Lovely to see Marina as well after a long time. And we've just put the number 7. I can see a lot of very happy people in both rooms. I go in and out of both rooms, and there are many, many very happy people on both rooms. So,
excellent.
Ramnista.
Lovely. Okay, so we have someone from Kianis. Is it Stelios? or is it Miss Karanatsu?
No, it's me.
Come on. Okay, Stelios. Hit me.
Here we are again.
Stelios.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. Give us a brief introduction of your family, your estate.
Hello, Alexandra. I gave a very nice introduction of what we winemakers of North Greece do. And of course, Konstantinos gave a very good introduction about what's happening in the Greek vineyard today. We are also Xenomovro producer. We have, I dare to say that we have a love-hate relation with Xenomovro because, this is the variety that is taking us to the worldwide scene. It's the variety that makes us be who we are. At the same time, we strive harder and harder to make the wine even better and better. We're not there yet. I think in the next few years, we're going to see better and better Xenomovros coming out. We at Kyriani, we have a small 56-hectare vineyard in Nausa, and we also have vineyards in Amyndion, and most probably the most up-and-coming region in Greece today. And Xenomovro is really what makes the difference for us. We are available in Hong Kong through Watson's, so enjoy the wine.
Excellent. All right. So Stelios, as you can spot by his surname, is a part of the Boutaris family. They're actually cousins with Marina that spoke previously. And Kyriani is an estate, a single estate that started by his father. And Stelios has been taking this original concept into completely different realms and levels. So as we speak, Kyriani is also owning Sigala's winery in Santorini. They also starting they have a big presence in Amyntel, and also they're starting projects around Greece that I don't really know whether I'm allowed to talk about them, so I'll leave that with a question mark. Yeah, there are more Stelios Boutaris projects in the world of Greek wine around Greece. What I can say about Kyrianis is that they are the how can I say it? They are the trendsetters of Greek wine. No matter what they do, creates a trend. Okay, they started doing a bit of Merlot with their Xenomovro in order to make a slightly more approachable wine that wasn't supposed to be called Nausa because of the law. Then everyone started doing that. They focused on rosé wine, then everyone now makes rosé wines. They focused on making good quality sparkling rosé wines, then everyone is looking into it. So we are talking about a truly blessed, gifted team. I know that Stelios has an amazing team behind him, so I think he would be very angry.
I'm blushing, Konstantine, I'm blushing.
The whole family should be blushing and the whole team should be blushing, but I'm not saying I think that is not correct. So in here, we are tasting Ramnista. So it's a single vineyard Xenomovro, again, 100% Xenomovro from PDO, Nausa. And to some people, this has been the quintessential, from a historic perspective, single vineyard Nausa. It's a wine that has a brilliant tracking career. You can taste 97, you can taste wines from the 2000s and still have a very good understanding that this is a top quality wine that can age for more. I'll tell a great story that relates to Ramnista, but this could be true to any of the wines that you tasted, the xenomeral wines you tasted today. Okay, you don't know, but I run an educational institute in Greece called WSPC, and we are running courses from a variety of other institutions. So we do Wine Scholar Guild, we do WSAT, but we are also doing Court of Master Sommelier courses. We fought hard, and we had to convince the people designing the courses to squeeze in some Greek wine, and they decided to show a Nausa, and usually they show Ramlista. So I am the person who is picking up the wines. So they are coming to Greece to do the classes, and then they say, they give me a list, oh, we want one wine like that, blah, 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 an Australian Shiraz, and we want a Barolo as well. So I know that they are tasting Ramlista, and then I know that they're tasting another Barolo that I personally select. Okay, I'll tell you this. A couple of years ago, I went to pick the DMSs for dinner, and they got me at the back room and say, Konstantinos, come on for a second. And they presented me with two wines, and they said, okay, one of those is the Ramlista, the other one is the Barolo you selected. Which is which? I started tasting and tasting, started tasting like, sweating like a pig, although pigs don't really sweat, but you get the expression. I mean, I was almost about to faint, like me, like Greek master wine, not being able to say right at the spot, this is the Naus and this is the Barolo. Okay, after tasting for some like 15 minutes, I decided to say, okay, this is the Naus of it. And I said, this is the Nausa, clearly on the fact that I thought that this was the best wine. And Brian Julian, the head executive of CMS, said, you fool, this is the Ramlista. Okay, and I was shocked by the similarity, and I've been through this tournament because they have been shocked before me during the classes. And you know what's the problem? The Barolo was about 6 times the cost of the Ramlista, 6 times the cost of Ramlista. And that's not Ramlista's problem, it's the Barolo's problem. Well, it could be Ramlista's problem to some degree, but there is a problem here, and to some degree, it's an inequality that is frustrating for people that truly understand the quality of Greek wines. Lovely. Okay. Well, effectively, this is it. Ευχαριστούμε. I don't know if you have any other questions.
Very much. That's a very
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very educational. I think all of us have learned quite a lot today. Also taste some wonderful wines. And we would like to acknowledge the contribution of those wineries. These wines, I hope we can get them in Hong Kong. And also especially thank Alexandra Mathiados for her introduction of all these wineries to Hong Kong and also to us, very appreciative. And also Mr. Konstantinos Lazarakis for his excellent introduction of the wine of Greece and also the region, and also lead us to taste these fantastic wines. Thank you very much, and also for all your participation. Now I pass this to Buhalis.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for coming along. Thank you to Alexandra, who've been going backwards and forwards for months now, and we're hoping that this is going to happen and happen. I'm very relieved, and I'm very happy to get all the feedback that we've got from everybody and so many smiling faces. I'm really grateful to Konstantinos Lazarakis for his expertise and guiding us through. And I'm really, really grateful for all the wineries and all the winemakers that they've sent us the wine to taste. Greece is a little bit peculiar place because most of the wineries are smaller in comparison to a lot of other places. And these guys are putting their soul in there. It's really, they are very, very passionate about their wine. And you're never going to find a very big quantity, but you'll always find wines with character. And I really like to thank my colleague, Professor Hayen Song.